What's up? It's Tom. Let's talk about Ty France. The Twins just announced that they signed him yesterday, and it's been interesting to see some of the early reporting on how people are imagining him fitting into the first base picture and how that contrasts with the contract that he signed. So let's jump into this. I'm a little bit behind. I usually would have gotten this same day, but been hard at work on the Prospect Zine, and this baby is almost ready to go. Got to print up some more and edit some things. But again, today we're here to talk about Ty France and the Minnesota Twins first base picture. So France ended last year with Cincinnati, but you probably remember him from his Mariners days. And, this guy looked like, a potential kind of future star player. He was an all-star not that long ago. So, and was putting up some pretty impressive offensive numbers in a difficult offensive environment in Seattle, and then his career just kind of has derailed for whatever reason. He's not even that old. He's only 30 still, so it's not like he hit that wall, that aging wall. Certainly on the other side of the aging curve, but still only 30. He signed a 1-year, $1 million deal with the Twins, so a very modest investment. That's about, I don't know what kind of a veteran you can sign for less than $1 million these days, and it is a major league deal, but it's not guaranteed. That's the really interesting thing about this contract. And that really makes me wonder, I put there, the Twins' lack of confidence. They wouldn't sign him to a guaranteed deal. Now, we know they didn't have to, is what him signing that deal tells us. I'm guessing maybe France could have gotten $1 million from some other teams, but he looked at this Twins team and the first base / DH picture, and he kind of thought, this is a place I could go to revive my career, and took this deal instead. And you know what? If he's not going to, be the opening day first baseman, he's not going to care that this is a non-guaranteed deal and the Twins can cut him, because he's going to want to look for another opportunity anyway. But that's kind of my reaction to the details of the contract without looking at anything else, is it doesn't seem like the Twins are all that confident that this is the guy, which is why it surprised me that when I read a lot of the reports from like the beat writers and stuff, there was a lot of posturing of Ty France being the starting first baseman, and that's surprising to me. I do feel like the Twins needed to go out and get some more options at first base and DH. And, maybe there was a guy out there that could have been the sort of assumed starter, but I don't think Ty France is that guy. I think he's a guy that, you add into this picture as good depth, and he's got major league experience, and that's nice. Again, he's had some major league success, too, beyond experience. He was an all-star in 2022, but the past 2 seasons have been pretty rough. Strictly a first baseman, too. You may have remembered in his earlier days he would spot in at third or second every once in a while, but he is strictly a first baseman, and really not really impressive with the glove. So the Twins, even though they're moving on from Carlos Santana, nobody in-house right now projects to be anywhere near as good as Carlos Santana defensively in particular. But let's take a look, kind of keying in on that, kind of who's on first conversation, who's the starting first baseman. I would assume that Jose Miranda would have a leg up over Ty France at this point. But, maybe the Twins think they can kind of get France back to his 2022, 2021 level. That would be amazing. This would be an incredible signing if they think they can do that. But the fact of the matter is he was bad last year, and part of that was in Cincinnati, which is a great place to hit, and he didn't really hit there. Jose Miranda, just looking at his full season numbers, almost 100 points OPS better than Ty France last year. But we're going to even kind of dig a little bit deeper in Miranda's season last year and shine an even more positive light on that. But even if we go from 2022 to 2024, a pretty generous 3-season scope, Miranda has a higher OPS. They're pretty similar, but Miranda has a higher OPS over the past 3 seasons than Ty France. We're talking about sample sizes in excess of 1,000. Now, something to call out, though, in terms of Ty France, again, kind of helping that first base DH picture look a little bit more secure. He's also been really, really healthy. He's stayed on the field. Credit to him for that. So there's some value there, especially when you're kind of disaster-proofing your roster, which to me, that's what the Ty France signing feels like, is more of a disaster-proofing signing than, hey, this is our first baseman signing. I mentioned Miranda. The thing that really clouds his numbers is before he got injured, in mid-July, before he had a lower back strain and went on the IL for a while, he had an 888 OPS over 276 plate appearances. Now, we do have to be fair and look at the whole picture. And I showed you Miranda's entire 2024 numbers and his entire big league numbers in the previous screens. But I think this represents kind of an upside. And we saw him catch fire for a while in 2022 as well. So, you can't give him full credit for those really great but smaller samples. But those are the flashes of what this guy could be if he puts it all together and stays healthy. And then you see in the bottom there, when he returned from that lower back strain, it was a disaster. He was horrible. He was a part of why the Twins fell apart, most definitely. And I don't know, I mentioned that France has really been durable and he stayed on the field a lot. I don't know if this is also kind of the way this is being reported, the way that France is kind of being positioned as maybe the starting first baseman. I wonder if this might be a message to Jose Miranda, and I wonder if the Twins have some questions about his durability, about his conditioning, and maybe they are not pleased with how that's gone. I don't know. This it feels like a statement that I don't think these beat reporters are just making it up that Ty France. I don't think they just came up with that he's going to be the opening day first baseman potentially. I think that was probably sort of the messaging provided from the team that they're reporting. So I almost wonder if that is like a message to Jose Miranda. Hey, buddy, get yourself in gear because we're getting some other options. And maybe Jose needs that. I don't know, but that just is an interesting takeaway from him. His season in particular last year of how he was going so good and looked amazing. He had that long at-bat hit streak, and then he was just awful after he got back from that. So was the back ever right? Was he ever healthy? It'd be easy just to say no and dismiss this end sample, but it happened. It was just as real as the good stretch, so you got to kind of take both into account. Taking everything into account, taking a look at their baseball savant slider. Sometimes I feel like we as a baseball community might be getting a little overly obsessed with these, but then I remember, man, this is a lot of information you get in a snapshot, and it's presented in a really consumable way. So I'm going to use them. I think they're getting a little bit overplayed, but there's so much value in them that it's undeniable. So I'm going to embrace that in this video. Left is Ty France's savant slider snapshot, and right is Jose Miranda's. So that paints a pretty clear picture of who was the better bet last season in particular. Unfortunately, neither of these guys are going to provide much value on defense, as I said before, or on the bases. But something I do want to to consider about Jose Miranda and how rough around the edges he looked at first base in 2022. He hasn't played there a ton. Since then, he's been more at third base or DH. He barely played first base in the minors. So he had like 30-some games, and it wasn't like he played a month at first base. These were sprinkled across a couple seasons. So he barely played first base in the minors, and then all of a sudden you're in the major leagues, which is, an obstacle to overcome in itself, and you're playing an unfamiliar position that you're not super comfortable with. I'm kind of willing to open the door for Jose Miranda and give him another chance and see what he can do, hopefully with more practice and effort and time having put in at first base. I'm not saying that all of a sudden he's going to be Carlos Santana over there, but I think maybe we can not judge him so harshly on how he looked in 2022. And to kind of flip the page and to be fair to Ty France, this looks really bad for Ty France. But if we do his 2023 even, we're not even going back to All-Star Ty France. We're just going back one season to 2023 Ty France and put him next to Jose Miranda. All of a sudden, you kind of get what's going on here. That looks so much better. And that looks like a guy who could take at-bats away from Jose Miranda. So, it's interesting. If the Twins really believed in Ty France, even not the All-Star Ty France, just the 2023 Ty France, they'd certainly would have been able to or willing to give him a guaranteed contract for $1 million. It's such a modest amount as it is. So they've kind of hedged, and maybe they do believe in him, but they didn't have to sign him to a guaranteed contract, so why do it? It's an interesting move. I'm certainly overanalyzing an ad around the fringes, stripping everything else away and being honest. This is a guy that's a major leaguer that signed a $1 million contract. There was not a lot of interest in Ty France So keep that in mind. We're going way deeper than we probably need to be on Ty France. But also in the first base picture, I want to throw out Edouard Julien. We mainly know him as a second baseman, but I think he has worked in at first base a bit, and I think it makes sense to work him in there a bit more. Mickey Gasper is a guy that they traded for from Boston this offseason, has caught some, has played some second base, some third base, but he's probably mostly a first base DH. Mike Ford, who they signed to a minor league contract, has had a couple of runs of success in the majors, but mostly not impressive. Hopefully he stays at St. Paul, but he's in the picture. Junior Severino, no longer on the 40-man roster, but he did sign a minor league contract to stay with the Twins, so he'll be in St. Paul as well. Maybe even Willie Castro. They've thrown that out there that, maybe they'll give Willie a first baseman's mitt in addition to all the other stuff that he does. I mean, why not? Willie can provide more value elsewhere, but if that's what you need, if that's the team weakness, then why not? I wouldn't be surprised if Willie could play a good first base at all. But what do you think about this? What are your thoughts on the Ty France edition? How do you see the first base position working out? And of course, there's DH as well. Maybe we see Miranda and France in lineups quite often with that being the case. So thanks for checking this one out. I really appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.